Hello everyone and welcome to this morning's session looking at how to optimize your time with clever menu design. Today's session will begin shortly and will last approximately 1 hour. This is the first of a two-part series. The second webinar will take place on Tuesday 14th of June at 11 AM and registrations for today will be valid for the second session. All attendees will be automatically muted throughout the session. We will have time for questions at the end, so if at any time you would like to submit a question, this can be done via the questions function in your toolbar. Questions will then be answered during the Q&A session. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Ballymaloe Foods, for the support of this event, and I'm now delighted to pass you over to Jane Walker from Ballymaloe Foods to introduce our presenters and to kick off our session today.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Louise. And a huge thanks to all the organisers at Chef Network for putting this workshop together. We're really looking forward to kicking off today with part one of our Optimise Your Time with Clever Menu Design. And also like to say a huge thanks to Dermot Walsh at Walsh's Bakehouse for the use of their facilities here in Waterford. It's a great setting for today's workshop, and you'll also see their famous fresh blahs used in one of the recipes, so we can keep an eye out for those, which Tracie will take you through later. So today's workshop is being led by the lovely chef Tracie Daly, and also assisting her in the kitchen is Sarah Brown. So we've two very capable ladies looking after proceedings today. So they're going to bring you through today's content and the recipes, and then as Louise said, we'll have some time at the end just to go through some questions which anyone has, and you can pop them into the box at the end. So without further ado, I suppose I'll hand over to Tracie to kick things off, and just a huge thanks to everyone for joining in today, and I really hope you enjoy.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jane. That was absolutely lovely. And as she said, I am joined here with the fabulous Sarah. Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Very excited. We put out a call for people to come forward, and so excited when I received your CV because you have such a wonderful wealth of knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
So before we even take off, would you just give us a quick snippet as to who you are and where you're coming from?
So my name is Sarah, and I'm a chef de partie in Cava Bodega in Galway. And I've been working as a chef, focused as a chef for the last 2 years, but I have experience in the tourism industry for my whole life. And I'm from Kerry, so you know that is the capital of tourism in Ireland, if you ask me. And yeah, it's you know my life and blood, this industry. So
yeah, I love it. It's in your veins, your DNA. And so today we're taking on the challenge of how to optimize your time with clever menu design. And so we've been very fortunate, we've been able to hang out and discuss. And so the whole point of this morning is to how to make your life that little bit easier. And so it's through provocative questions. So we're going to ask you a couple of things, we want you to think about it, and we're going to give you the solutions around that, which is really exciting. And there's so many parts to this conversation. That's why we had to work it into 2 workshops. We can't get it all done today. So we'll take you through quickly. So just to give you a rundown of what it is we're doing. So we're having a hero ingredient today. So the ham hock is our hero ingredient. So we've created a ham hock and egg blah combo. Lovely and simple, but really mindful of the quality of ingredients and that layer system. And from the ham hock cooking liquid, we have a ham hock and pea soup. So it's how to maximize. We want to prevent the waste leaving the kitchen, and we want to utilize it, maximize it, and earn lots of profit and revenue from it. So that's the whole point of it, isn't it? And even aside, so I wanted to think how we could make this a full delicious combo. So I was bringing in a carrot salad, and especially with seasonal ingredients, to utilize them when they're at their best is a wonderful thing. And Sarah, you're going to talk us through and show us what we're going to do. I'll be right there. And so what we want to do is not lose any of the flavour from the carrot. So we're going to talk about how we're going to make that possible. And you have great experience in this area. This is an area that you absolutely love to be around.
Yeah, absolutely.
How to utilise those leftovers.
I think it's a really interesting space, and you know, creatively, it kind of it's a limitation if you start thinking about well, I have this waste going out of the kitchen, and what can I use it for? And a lot of the time it can be really delicious, especially you know, skins and things like that from vegetables can have so much flavor, and we just don't think about it. It just all goes in the bin, which is such a pity. So
I love it. I love it. So start going through your bins. That's the first thing.
Number one thing.
And so our working order for today, we want to talk about kitchen culture. So the Kitchen Workplace Charter by Chef Network. We're going to talk about growth mindset. You're asking yourself, what the heck does that have to do with maximizing? Well, it has a lot to do with maximizing. We're going to discuss that. Development versus stagnation, inclusion versus isolation, reward versus reprimand. And then we're going to talk about menu engineering. Do we have enough time for all of this? Design, crossover of ingredients. These are things you need to consider at all times when you're developing a menu or implementing a menu. Then staff training is huge, something that we take for granted, and it's actually vital. Equipment needs, oh my goodness, we had a great conversation about that. Hero ingredients that we've spoken about, and that menu we're going to implement. So if we take it from the top, we're going to talk about the kitchen culture. So the kitchen workplace charter, where can we find that?
So it's a charter developed by Chef Network, and, and you can find it on the Chef Network website. And it's basically a guidebook for how to create a positive kitchen environment.
Because it's a daunting space to be in.
Yeah.
And as we said earlier behind the scenes, we had a conversation without you, apologies. We said that it's very difficult for you to sit down alone to create change on your own as an island and try and bring people towards you.
Yeah.
And so this is the foundation. This can be your Bible or your workbook that you need to implement. And so I'd be very interested to see how many people actually are aware of it. So we'll talk about that later. And so it's the backbone and the foundations of a really productive workspace, isn't it? And so another thing that I'd love to discuss is the growth mindset versus fixed mindset. They're interesting concepts, and they're things that we take for granted. If I was to ask you, the environment in which you work today, would you say it's a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? And what do you mean by your answer?
So it's entirely a growth mindset where I'm working, and I'm so lucky to have that environment, you know, but it's like in our kitchen, every, you know, change is encouraged, and it's not about staying kind of stagnant. And, you know, if something isn't working, or you have an idea of how to optimize like something in the kitchen or save time or anything at all, it's taken on board, and a lot of the time we change it, you know. And the equipment thing really comes into that, you know, because it's you know, it gives us so much freedom in terms of time, and then that allows us to be more creative later, because we just are, you know, we have time to actually think about what we want to do rather than sort of scrambling to get stuff done. So
which is fabulous. And even fixed growth set and growth mindset. Did I say that right? Fixed mindset and growth mindset. That, I think, in essence, is definitely the backbone of the charter, the Chef Network Workplace Charter. Because if we look at this, one of the things that they talk about, and they give you lots of information in each area, creating a safe and open environment. And that's what you just said. So that's in the charter. And so what they allow and permit and encourage is for you to speak openly without the fear of being judged, ridiculed, or mocked.
And you're like taken, you know, you're taken really seriously. Even like when I started in Cava, I didn't have a huge amount of experience in like a full service restaurant, but I was still valued as a, you know, as a part of the team, and any feedback I had on or thoughts were encouraged, and it's given me so much more confidence working in a place like that, you know.
It's lovely.
It's great.
The time is given. So encouraging experience, organise for staff to dine in other restaurants. Does that happen in Cava? Do you guys get to go out and about?
Well, we kind of do that anyway, because we're actually like a little family, and we all go off together and have lunch in different places around Galway. And as I'm sure everyone knows, Galway is an incredible place to eat. There's so many fantastic restaurants. So we sort of do that as a team, you know, without even being told to, you know, it just happens.
Part of the culture.
But we're completely, you know, we're part of Eat Galway group, so there's 3 restaurants in our group: Cava, Tartare, and Anir, and we're encouraged to go to the other restaurants and eat there and see how they do things, and even, you know, if we want to work in them for a day, that's encouraged as well, which is
fantastic. I love it. And so that, and we're talking about this from the Chef Network Workplace Charter. These are the topics that we're talking about now. So even encouraging collaboration and creativity, and that's it. It's that openness with the other restaurants as well. And food producers, which you speak about. That food producers are a huge part of your business and your own personal love, which is terrific. Another thing is dealing with issues and conflict, which can be quite a challenge. And so the point of these, why am I even bringing this up? If you develop an environment and a workplace culture that is progressive and inclusive, and that safe space driven by values, you can optimize productivity. So if we go back to optimize your time with clever menu design, if we feed the individual within this space, and if we allow them to grow, and we encourage them to make mistakes and learn from them without humiliation, as an individual, I will work harder.
Yeah,
I will give more. So creating that team environment is actually crucial for you to develop that menu that you can optimize.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, completely. I think it's like such an important thing that's overlooked, actually, you know, and that's why I didn't actually know about the kitchen workplace charter until last year, when I joined Chef Network, and I just thought it was the most like simple idea ever, but just so well executed, and it made so much sense. I wish that it had been everywhere before, because you know, it's this stuff, you know, isn't complicated, and it's easy to implement if you have the right kind of attitude about it. And it makes you want to work in a place, you know, like I would never work somewhere that didn't have this sort of an attitude towards the workplace. You know, it's really, really important.
So it's a powerful piece that you can go onto the Chef Network website and download, and implement.
Yeah, definitely.
And even if you're in a position where you feel you don't have power, read it, understand it, and see if you can tick the boxes. The environment in which you are in, are you able to thrive? And by ticking more boxes as yes, then the answer is yes. But if there's more X's, then the answer is no. And so it's that reflection piece which is quite important. You chose where you work right now because of that. And as a result, you give everything you have and your maximum productivity and capacity as a result. So that restaurant can thrive with that right team and mentality. It's really powerful stuff. Something else that I love is the inclusion versus isolation. And that's something, so I'm from a different generation where that was a heavy part of kitchen environments. And we got to speak about that, how something like this charter is now paving the way for positive change. That's essential, because the industry itself, it's getting a hammering at the minute.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And you know, it's something that I was thinking about, like, is how do we get past this point in the industry where we have like you know, there are places that are fantastic to work in and are really trying to make a better space for chefs and to attract chefs. We have to do that, because otherwise we're not going to have an industry. Like, you know, there's such a stigma attached to chefing, especially, and especially women in the kitchen. You know, like it's not a positive space when you're looking from the outside. But I think the reality is, and we need to talk about it more, is that there are places that are you know, really working hard to make this a good place to work, and you know, and as valuable as any other kind of career. You know, and
it's respect. It's respect from the top down, bottom up. Isn't it? It's that two-way street, value driven, and as a result, you can be incredibly creative, you can be incredibly open, you can fall flat on your face and you won't be humiliated. Everyone will pick you up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. I love it. And so that's the reward versus the reprimand, isn't it? If you fall down, we'll pick you back up. And what can we learn? How can we grow? What changes do we need to make? How can we minimize in order to maximize? And that's it with the menu. We were talking about systems and flow. By changing one piece of equipment, we can maximize our output. But we also spoke about repetitive strain, injury, which is a huge thing in kitchens. So by changing one piece of equipment or one system within a menu, so a standardized menu, the method, if we change one line to incorporate a clever, leaner approach, we can actually protect ourselves even more. And then we can maximize output again. So how it was is not how it must be. And I think that's quite important. Review, reflect, implement, amend, repeat. And that's something that we don't give enough credit to at times. In kitchens, we go in and we're on that autopilot. Whereas that's stagnation, isn't it? Whereas if we can get into that frame of mind of, today I'm going to tackle this one recipe, it's been niggling me for so long, there has to be a better way, I know there's a better way, go and do it. Go and put that on your agenda. So tomorrow, Wednesday, you're going to message myself and Sarah, you're going to let us know how you got on. Or if you don't have the solution, you're going to message us anyway, and we're going to try and help you with that. And through that progression, that growth mindset of wanting to find solutions, you're in a different workplace environment. And if you're in the wrong workplace environment, leave. Go find a place like that. I'm not telling you what to do, obviously, which is brilliant. So something else. So they're all things how we can create extra productivity in a really, really mindful manner with genuine care and attention. Obviously, that's the backbone has to be there. The sincerity piece has to be there. But another thing that we need to look at is the menu design. Something a lot of businesses don't give enough credit to. So the menu design is the menu engineering. And if I said to you, a menu is effective communication, marketing, and cost control tool. Did you know that a menu could do so much for you? So many people underestimate how important a marketing tool your menu is, and they simply will handwrite or simply print. It doesn't do you enough service. But there's also more things to it. It's where your eye focuses. So you've got the golden triangle. You've heard that before. So where your eye goes right in the middle, top and bottom. Isn't that outstanding? How many of you out there utilize the golden triangle for your menu? Because a kitchen must collaborate with front of house to bring a menu together in its physical form, as well as in its give me the words, graphic form. You need everyone to work together to do that. So this information is as important to the kitchen as it is front of house. And that collaboration piece is vital, isn't it? Yeah.
But it gives you so much power, you know, when you understand that, because you can actually, you know, adjust your menu and adjust what you're doing to kind of maximize your output, you know, and it makes life easier at the end of the day, because you're, you know, you're work smarter, not harder.
Yes, I love it. So you're directing people to certain dishes. So if we cost a dish, we're always looking at the cash contribution to the dish. So we cost our dish, we have to multiply it, we have to add whatever else on, whether it be VAT, whether it be extra add-ons, whatever they might be. I'm trying to think what else would you do. I have it all here. So you get your cost price, then we get our sales price. And when we look at the sales price, we need to do a reflection on the cost price to sales price and look at the cash contribution. So how much is it giving to the actual restaurant? And then we need to look at the labor intensity of that dish. So the productivity behind the dish. Does this dish take longer to produce than the next dish? If so, can we make changes? Can we maximize? But the cash contribution, we want to put dishes that give us the most amount of cash contribution, what you said, that where we can work smarter, not harder. So that labor intensity, we need to juggle that as well. We want to put that in prime real estate position on our menu. By putting it in within that golden triangle, if it's a one-page sheet, what you're going to do, or it's the Z as well, you can use the Z algorithm for that as well, is that you're going to direct the customer to certain specific areas and you're going to encourage them to purchase. So look, is there an element of deception? Not at all. Your food is absolutely wonderful, so why not maximize? It's a strategic approach that gives your business absolute control with what's going on, as much as possible control. So I love the idea that it's also a sales and marketing tool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So descriptions. How we use our words to describe things. So it's that mouth-watering element that is really quite crucial. And sometimes we write a menu far too quickly.
And you can really, like, you know, you can paint a picture and with how you describe a menu item, you know, and it's selling it without even, you know, having to do any work, really. You know, you can, because, you know, if you don't have that relationship in your business between the floor and the kitchen, where they're kind of working together and they are a team, and, you know, like, try everything and they know what everything tastes and they have the same passion as the kitchen does for the food that they're serving, then your menu can do that work for you, you know, and really make sure that that point is getting across, like, how delicious this thing is, you know.
Absolutely. And the point is, you need to be able to make a profit that is worthwhile to your business. So you have to step away in order to reflect on this piece, and you have to give this piece the labor that's required to maximize on your profitability. And it's a huge part of the business that's intimidating and frightening, but it's incredibly rewarding. And it's like anything, you take it on the first time, you tackle it with gritted teeth, it gets easier. It gets easier. So there's 4 things that they say on a menu which are brilliant. So you've got your plow horses, which is your low profitability, high popularity. You've got your stars, which is your high profitability, high popularity. So your menu items fall into these 4 categories. You've got your duds, which is low profitability, low popularity, and then you've got your puzzles, which is high profitability but low popularity. So you need to be strategic when you look at your menu, and you need to be able to go through your menu and go, which are my plow horses? I need to have that star. That star has to make me money. That plow horse, it's there because the customer wants it. They keep coming back for it. I'm over it, but by jingo, my repeat customers tell me what they need, and I have to give them that. And so the stars are where you can be creative, where you can bring that seasonality, that quirkiness through. The duds, monitor them. Duds are strategic, which is funny. So this is the low profitability, low popularity. Duds are strategic. You put in a dud to push towards everything else. Yeah, so it has a place. You don't want too many duds. You want one to two duds, maximum 7 dishes on a main course. 5 is delicious, but you want one dud there, which then catapults people up to the better quality dishes that you want to thrive within. But even those things with the menu design, menu engineering, there's colors as well, as in we eat with our eyes. Colors allow us to go on a journey, and they give us a sensation and a feeling. And so to utilize that to the best of your ability as well is quite clever, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So your engagement with the menu planning, design and engineering in Cava, would that be quite present, or before in previous jobs, how would that have worked?
So like before I started working in Cava, I was a manager in a cafe that had just opened in Donegal, and so I was in charge of the menu planning there entirely. And but it wasn't something I really understood like fully. You know, we just had like certain items, but you could see that happening. You know, with like the plough horse and the duds, and you could just, you know, you had the things there that you needed to have because you knew someone was going to ask for them.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
when, like, by describing other items, you know, you could really push things that were exciting to make and interesting for us as well, you know, that we all loved too. Like, you know, it was kind of,
I think that's huge what you've just said, and that comes to one part, which is the staff training piece. So that level of engagement with your team. So even if we pull back just a little, so we've written the menu, we've tried it, we've tested it in the kitchen, we've standardized the recipes, we've standardized the equipment offering, we've photographed it. So that's how you operate a kitchen, isn't it? And so from that point, then it gets translated and tasted by front of house. And I hope there is an opportunity to bring front of house in for that feedback piece.
I think it's really important, actually, you know, because
it?
they're the ones at the end of the day that are talking to the customers.
Sales and marketing.
If they're not on your side, like, and selling the stuff for you, then you're not gonna sell it in the first place, you know?
Absolutely. And if we then look at how we can encourage purchase, so we can encourage purchase, we've spoken about it, clever use of words. So if we can train the staff, they can taste, if we can write those descriptions that they can easily flow, but if they buy in, we need people to buy in, and that's how we can really succeed. We don't want to force them, it's a ham hock soup. It's grand, We don't want that. We want, it's a delicious ham hock soup. And what we've done is we've actually utilised that ham hock cooking liquid as our base broth on that soup, which is absolutely delicious. So look, you can go on and make that, but there is a sense of theatre, isn't there? Where we bring in that front of house team, we give them the knowledge, the skills, and the tools. It's not a case of, and if you're doing this on a daily or a weekly basis where you go, guys, the menu today, just want to read it out there. We've 3 minutes to open. Not good enough. Actually not good enough. For you to take 10 minutes to talk people through it, to allow them to taste, and even if you can do that in advance on the best of days, if you're bringing in a new seasonal menu, give them time with it, allow them to do that. But also I would have pictures with descriptions on A4 pages scattered behind the scenes so that staff can reflect, review, and remind themselves. So if you're not putting in place the systems required, because sometimes I'm quite forgetful, so I do things to make my life simpler. And I think that's a wonderful thing to do for your team. Don't assume that every brain is going to remember every word and every description. It's impossible. You're asking too much. Don't do that. So those little systems help a lot. But also it's telling your team, guys, this is a winner for us, because the speed of service that we can create around this dish is wonderful. The maximum profit we can create around this dish is wonderful. So I'd really love if we all try today to really push this dish. So that's one we want to try. Try it out, see how you get on. Look at your profits improve. So it's at the table, and then it's at the table. What else can you do at the table? When you have your sales and marketing experts, you could call them your waiting staff. I call them sales and marketing experts, who are using your sales and marketing tool, which is your menu, that's engineered and strategically created. They are also in a power where they can upsell. So, a terrific add-on with that is this, or it's a cocktail, or it's a mocktail, or it's an Irish juice, or it's a something. So it's to provoke, isn't it? That's what we want to do, is provoke and sell. And that's how you maximize with clever menu design, isn't it? They're all huge tools that are essential. There's a lot more to it, and I know we're skimming over it, but I hope there's enough in there to interest you to look into these areas a little bit further, because they make such a difference.
And I think like that conversation just shows you how important the workplace charter is, to be
Yes.
honest, and how like relevant it is, because
Yeah.
it, at the end of the day, it comes down to your team,
Mm.
and they're going to do the work for you at the end of the day, whether they're in the kitchen or on the floor. And if you have a positive space, they'll want to do the work. And
Yeah.
that's it, you know. And
Yeah.
it's really, really simple of you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I love that. Go back to where it should all begin.
Yeah.
And it's with that charter. Yeah, I love it. So the staff training, it's something that I find, and actually I was talking to a great food business owner yesterday, and they had an experience where everything else was really good, but the service was really poor.
Mhm.
And they just said it felt to them, they're in the industry, it felt to them that the training wasn't given. And look, yes, we're all under pressure, and yes, there are issues out there, and yes, we're trying to do too much. If we step back a little, can we reduce our menu a little? Can we take a little bit of more pressure off the kitchen?
Yeah.
Can we maybe remove the duds for the time being?
Mhm.
So even the ingredients in the back door, which is, it takes time to check those ingredients, doesn't it? It takes time to put those ingredients in the rightful homes.
Yeah.
It takes time to do that, move the freshes to the back, oldest to the front. So there's so many steps in there. So if we look at minimizing those small little things, and then it's looking at the service side of it. So are there other ways in which can we do more setup the night before? Can we look at different systems run your business, people run your systems. So by having systems, I got very serious there, my face changed, my body language changed, because the systems are what you need to run your business, and that's the game changer essentially. So it's goods in the back door, the systems around that strategic approach, and then it's in the front door. What can we do to minimize? So is it the layout? Is it the service? Is it the flow? Is our coffee machine in the wrong place? There's so much we could do to maximize within our menu design when we're going through such a staff shortage. But I think minimizing the menu is a really great place to start, especially for businesses that are established and they know they're winning dishes. Yeah.
And it's kind of you know, especially in the environment that we're in at the moment, where there is such a staff shortage, like we need to be, you know, not moaning on about it, I suppose, like we were saying earlier, you know, and kind
solution focused.
Yeah, exactly. And it is the growth mindset, you know. It's like not, oh, poor me. It's what can we do about this from, you know, look at the whole thing and say, I'm wasting time here trying to have this thing on the menu and it's not working hard for me. And I think like the menu you've done for today is like a really good example of how you can change the way you're thinking about items, you know, to like if you have one ingredient coming in and you maximizing how much you get out of that one ingredient, you know, it's so important.
That crossover piece.
Yeah,
which is fantastic. And even back to something we spoke about earlier, your equipment. And if we talk about equipment, I had a story where I've a fabulous client. So when I'm not development chef for Ballymarie Foods, I'm a food business coach. And so I was with the client and they rang and they said, my arms are broken. If I have to make bloody bechamel one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. And the other issue was every time I make bechamel, it's brilliant. But every time I task somebody else in the kitchen to make bechamel, it's lumpy, it's driving me crazy. The product, I'm not happy with it. So I recommended a piece of kit. And the piece of kit, it works in this instance, and there's lots of other variations of this, so it doesn't have to be this specific piece of kit, but it was a Thermomix TN6, which I love and adore. So I said, look, we need to get the Thermomix in there. It's small quantities, we could do small quantities often. That was the nature of her business, and so it worked beautifully within her menu and the management and the workflow and space requirements as well. And so by putting the Thermomix in place, we were able to achieve a bechamel sauce that was 100% consistent every single time. And so it went from 45 minutes to 8 minutes. So the labor intensity of standing over a pot was reduced from 45 minutes to 8 minutes. So that one piece of kit, not only did I take the massive pressure off her arms, so if we were to sit down and look at the investment piece, and here's another thing, and this is mindset again. If I was to look at the investment piece, and if I took 8 from 45 is something, 37, and so I think it could be 37. Well done. See this fabulous mind. And so if I took those 37 minutes and I costed those for the individual team members that were tasked with it, and I looked at the price of that, and I looked at the price of the machine, I could eventually find out how many sessions I need and how many quantities of bechamel I need to make that machine worth its while. That for me is a game changer. And so when I go into kitchens, I'm always looking at pieces of equipment. And we spoke about that fine tuning element is crucial to success. So if you have an oven, 10 deck oven, and only 3 of the decks really work, and every day you're shuffling and scuffling, is that efficient?
Crazy.
Isn't that crazy? So if you were to buy a new oven or a second-hand oven from somebody you trust, really important, it's very difficult to buy second-hand equipment. But if you were to buy a new piece of equipment that gave you those 10 decks, can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Yeah, it just makes such a difference in every way to have equipment that's working properly. Like, it's so much less frustrating working with it as, you know, as a staff member.
Yes.
And you know, you're always, you know, trying to think about that as well. You know, like how can I think it should be a big part of what you're thinking about is, you know,
yes,
it just kind of makes everything else run more smoothly, you know.
Yeah.
And you're not like putting something off doing it just because you're like, oh, I don't want to use that stupid waistcoats that wobbles or whatever, you know. It just changes it.
If it's broken, take it out. Get a new one. Make the investment. Take the leap. Encourage your bosses. Encourage your management. Encourage whoever's around you that is in charge. Tell them that the productivity level of a new piece of machinery will add tenfold to their business. You could even sit down and do the maths on that. You could give them actual quantitative figures in cash, which would make such a difference. I actually did something, and it's on the wrap up. I did it here, which is a very fascinating piece of information, and I'll explain it further. And it's to do with plating, portion control, but I put it in money, because money talks. And so if I needed a 10 deck oven and I could only use 3 decks, it would take me 369, 3 1/3 times longer to do possibly 1 dish, depending on volume based, what it is I'm doing. So 3 1/3 times, what, oh my God, am I saying that right? 3 1/3 times longer to finish that exercise. Whereas if the oven was actually able to work in its optimum capacity, I've decreased it by 300%. Have I close to it? You can see how good at fractions I am. But that's the point of it. In order for your menu to shine, if your equipment doesn't work, if your stick blender is slow and it's not giving you the smooth soup, there's a problem with your stick blender. Get rid of the stick blender. It's not the team member. You're forcing your team member to stand still for an extra 15 minutes. They're feeling immense pressure. They can't do their job properly. Shame on you.
And they're wasting time, you know. Like it's a complete waste of time. It's, you know, not valuing how much that team member could be doing in that 15 minutes if you give them, even if you give them that as a creative opportunity, you know. It's like you can see they're going to work harder for you and maybe come up with something that you haven't thought of for your menu, you know, which is kind of a nice way of thinking about it instead, you know, rather than saying what an expensive blender, like
how lucky are they? Ridiculous. So I love it. That's kind of a quick and fast and furious run through of really integral points that we'd love to hammer home for you to consider. So within your work environment, to even bring to your team members and also to top tier management, that you can provoke them to think a little bit deeper. Because by executing these little changes, by implementing positive systems, you can then actually work smarter, not harder. So in essence, as a result, you optimize your time with clever menu design. So it's from that holistic full circle approach, isn't it? I love it. And so look, there we have the bones of that, but we need to actually make something with our fabulous Waterford Blah. So we're here in Walsh's Bakehouse, and myself and Sarah are looking out. There's a viewing deck, so we can watch the bakers. It's absolutely wonderful setup. So we're very lucky. Dermot is so kind to invite us here, and we're loving it. I mean, a beautiful display of fabulous breads that are made here at Walsh's Bakehouse, who are over 100 years old. Isn't that fantastic? So the traditional Blah is a Waterford base bread. You can't get it anywhere else. And if you do, it came from Waterford. Look at where it came from, because no one else in Ireland is permitted to produce this because it's a Waterford product. So how lovely we're in Waterford and we're able to do this. And so we spoke about the menu earlier, and it's simply done, isn't it? And sometimes the simpler the food, the easier it is, because we can allow certain ingredients to shine.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we look at one thing, so we have our ham hock. We have our ham hock there. Brilliant. Beautiful. So we've pulled the ham hock, which is fabulous. We have our cooking liquid over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to multi-use that. So if we start with our soup, the leftover ham hock cooking water, rather than throwing it down the drain, we are going to pop it into our soup. So we have our sweated base. And remember, any recipe can be trialed and tested in your kitchen, but it must be measured for grams, all liquid in grams, all ingredients in grams, in order for you to price it. So even when you're doing a special dish, you must price it. So be really mindful of that. Know what it is, know the cash contribution, know the gross profit margins. In order for you to have that knowledge, you are in a position to be part of a really successful kitchen environment. So that's just it. So over here we have, I'm going to pop the heat up on this. So we have our sweated onions in the base of our pot. So onions, you can use olive oil or butter. I have butter here, but we need to be more mindful actually of that menu, making sure that it's more inclusive. So having options on it for everyone. So if you don't have a luxury item, if you don't have a vegan item, if you don't have a vegetarian item on your menu, reflect on that. There are 3 key components that you must have within your menu. So our onions are sweated, so they're lovely and light in colour. They're fully cooked through without any deep brown colouring. Isn't that the point of sweating? It's trapping that steam, bringing in that flavour. So we're going to pop on our ham hock cooking liquid. Great use. So rather than throwing that down the drain, we've popped it into our soup. And sometimes it seems so simple and you're kind of going, well, of course, why aren't you doing it more often? Why haven't I seen it on menus? Because luckily for me, my job takes me around the country and I want to see that ham hock cooking water, and great pride in using leftovers. And I think that's something you spoke about, that you brought that up. It's being very proud of what it is you're producing, even if it's a waste product.
Yeah, and especially I think with the quality of ingredients that we have in this country, like, you know, that you can respect an ingredient at every stage, you know, even if it's something that's coming off of cooking, like, it doesn't mean it's a waste product. And especially, you know, with a liquid that's coming from cooking ham or meat, like the flavor that's in that, you're not going to be able to get anywhere else, you know, and it's why
you
not
can't replace it.
Yeah, you can't replace it.
Yeah. And so even when you pull the ham hock, there's always going to be those little extra bits, which we have here. So those little bits that fall off, what you do with them? But that's our garnish on our soup. So I want you to start looking at certain ingredients and how you can cross over those ingredients. So why is crossover of ingredients so important? If we minimize our menu and if we cross over ingredients, we can then minimize the impact it's having at our back door. So what do I mean by that? So not even for the level of ordering, we decrease the level of ordering, we decrease the amount of ingredients required, we decrease the output there, so that the cash required to get all of that food in. So if we can minimize that a little, be quite strategic, then when we bring it in the back door, we can actually put it away even quicker because we have less to deal with, we've less to work with. So there's great efficiency from that. And then the crossover of ingredients, if we can bring it into starters and mains, or if we can bring it another element on in a couple of days, if it's another special, but we're always planning in advance. It's not something that I want you to do in the moment. I don't. What I want to do is implement systems. So a system around this would be once a week, once every 2 weeks, or once a month, there is a group team meeting. It's looking at potential seasonal ingredients. It's looking at your menu. And as you said earlier, but how do you bring it in? It's a waste product. How do you bring it in? You need to sit down and look at that. Is this a viable option? Is this a complementary add-on? Is this something that will work really well? And that's something that you have to give, but it's also having the recipes there ready to go so that you can bring it to life, which is really important. So by minimizing the amount of ingredients that come in, you actually minimize your use of freezers and fridges. And I have a great story about this. And this happened recently. I was doing a review of a kitchen, and through the review of the kitchen, are you ready? They had 7 different types of breads on offer. They had to buy an extra freezer to house the breads. So when you are so busy, and I'm so mindful of this, and that's why I get to do what I get to do, when you are so busy, you don't have time to think. So it's the likes of me that get to come into your business, that get to pinpoint those certain areas where I can save you time, I can save you money, and I can save you running costs. So by decreasing that, we only needed two breads. We then took a whole freezer out of action, which was such a huge saving. But also the interruption on the delivery process, because the volume in which the bread was arriving in was huge. So the space required was something else. So the crossover for me, I was looking at their menu, I was looking at what was essential, what we needed to keep, because the staff's opinion was vital, the customer feedback was vital, and the POS insights, your point of sale insights on popularity was vital for me to know what we needed to keep. As a result, I could reduce immediately to 2. Unbelievable difference.
Yeah.
The labor saved, the time saved was absolutely fantastic.
Even the fact that you can get rid of a freezer.
Yeah, space.
Yeah.
So our base, just popping in our peas. So literally, I probably actually need a little bit more water. Would you mind? Yeah. Even half a pint would be terrific. So popping in our green peas, no lid on when it's green vegetable, no lid. We want to retain the freshness, retain that colour, and that's how we'll do it. So the base is up to the boil. Don't look at what Sarah's doing. I didn't have much stuff. So bringing that up to the boil really quite quickly until those peas are cooked. And then we're going to blitz it quickly. You don't actually have to blitz it. I actually really like that chunky soup. I like when there's eating and drinking, and maybe that's an Irish thing, is it? Yeah, eating and drinking in a soup. So we'll see. If you think that it tastes and looks fantastic, we'll leave it as chunky, but we also have a blender there. So you're going to make an executive decision on that, Sarah. No pressure. So that's our soup. We want around, I'd say, no more than 5 minutes with our green veg coming back to the boil there. No longer than that, 4 to 5 minutes. We're going to serve that up. We're going to pop it with some of our pulled ham hock. That's going to be one part of this combo. Combos are brilliant as well for a menu, actually, and a great way to utilize those leftover ingredients in a very strategic and discreet manner as well. So just going to put that out there. So we're using the blah. Oh yeah, we're using the blah, which is behind us here. So will you grab us one of Walsh's beautiful blahs? These are wonderful. Actually, we should get maybe the other 2 because the guys have asked for tastings afterwards, so we want to keep them happy. Dermot has insisted that we feed him. And so the blahs, it's such a beautiful bread. And I love this when you look at a menu, you look at a menu item and you look at the layers and the textures. How is this going to work so well and why is it going to work so well? So you've got a little crunch on the top, not too much, but you've got softness personified. So as a carrier, it's absolutely wonderful. So it's so fresh, it's gorgeous. So it's a great vessel for this. So this then is the pulled ham hock that Sarah has. And we're going to slather this in none other than
Malou.
Yeah, she's very good at this. Very good at this. The Ballymaloo mayo, which is wonderful. Fabulous black pepper in there as well, which gives it lovely flavour and texture. Free range eggs, yeah, really lovely. So popping on. So again, we spoke about earlier how to standardise a recipe. You really want to be mindful of the equipment you use. So what's a piece of kitchen equipment that may be underutilised or undervalued, underrespected, that is vital? And it's the...
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah, we were just talking about this. So we used to weigh, we make cod cakes in Cava, and we used to weigh them by hand. You know, like take out, it was like 6 kilos of cod cakes and weigh each one to 70 grams. And then our head chef decided he would buy an ice cream scoop, and it's like changed our lives. We can do it just so much faster, and it completely standardized it. You know, it's every scoop is the same, and it makes our lives way easier.
Yeah,
and, you know,
we've got an issue with autopilot, and we all do. Sometimes we need to tune off because we're exhausted or we have something else going on. So for us to come in and to be in a position where we don't have to think, but we're not going to cost the business money, that's brilliant. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was implementing a new menu, and in order for the staff, because some of the staff were on holidays, and so I couldn't capture them, I couldn't ensure that we were able to standardize the offering. So we brought in 4 ice cream scoops, and it meant that immediately the staff could train the staff, which is brilliant. And I love that level of teamwork that happens in kitchens. So the train the trainer attitude. What I show you, I need you to show someone else. That's brilliant for growth as well.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, completely. Yeah, it kind of you know, really makes you feel like a part of the team that's really respected and valued. You know, if you're given that opportunity to train people at that, you're, you know, at a point where you're you know, your experience is valued and you're giving back. Yeah, completely.
It's lovely. I'm going to get you to cut these. So these can be in slices, lovely and thin. So we're going to pop some of our cos lettuce, lovely and crunchy, keep it chilled, really important for that texture. We want the texture in because our blah is lovely and soft. It's so delicate like velvet. And we want that crispy salad leaves to come in there, because when we chew on something, we want to go on a little journey. So it's having that balance right is really important. So this will be for Dermot. this blah in particular. So we have our cast lettuce, just popping it on, and it's a conveyor belt system. So what you want to do is you want to do one action on 2 cents, and that's speed of service, isn't it? Rather than stopping and starting, stopping and starting. So just popping on our costs, reading from my standardized recipe, making sure that I'm not going over, respectful of quantities that are required to make this a profitable dish. So we've got our ham hock is going to go on. So I'm going to pop our ham hock on now. Delicious. I'll promise I'll show you. So ham hock goes on, which is fabulous. Behind me, we have our pea soup up to the boil, simmering for just those 3 or 4 minutes. I'm going to take that off the heat. Perfect. So the spring onions that Sarah has here, what I've done and what Sarah has done before you guys came online, you see that lovely, if I can follow, the lovely hairy end. So the root end, what we did was that we took off that root end, we tossed it in a little bit of olive oil, we seasoned it with some salt and pepper, and we popped it on a gentle, so you can go in the oven or on the hob. And what we're doing is we're creating this fabulous crispy crumb, because I'm not losing any part of that spring onion. It's not going in my bin. I'm bringing it back around. I'm giving it a second chance, second life. They're delicious. What's the key to this? No soil. So it's that wash. Put your spring onions in a jug of water and then quickly wash them. So give them at least 20 minutes in the jug of water, just the base ends, so that it's easier to wash them off. So we don't want to lose any of that flavor. So we've got our ham hock. We're going to pop on our spring onions. So if I get you just to sprinkle over our spring onions here, brilliant.
Looks so good already.
It's such a simple sandwich. It's such a simple offering. And summertime, like, it's the perfect time for something like this as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Gorgeous. How fabulous is that? Great colors. So this is our blah. Simply done. Simple flavors, simple textures. Ballymaloe mayo. Oh, 15 minutes left. Can't get better. You heard it here first. So I love it. Going to pop this on. We know what we've got to put in. Our egg. So what we have here, we have our diced egg, so free range egg, brought it to the boil and then simmered for 10 minutes, then straight under cold water, peel and dice beautifully. So what we're going to add in here, I can't believe, oh, shame on me. We're going to add in some of our mayo. We're going to mix it up. And this is going to be the wet element to our dish. So this is going to be the glue that holds it all together. So lots of Ballymaloe mayo. Some places make their own mayo. You might have your preferred brand. We won't talk about it. Here at Walsh's Big House, we love Ballymaloe mayo, and personally so do I.
Absolutely.
It's so freaking delicious.
I've talked to a few people about Ballymaloe mayo and how it's mayo like your mom used to make, or your gran used to make. You know, it's just like tastes like home.
Real deal, isn't that it?
Yeah,
Real deal.
exactly.
So gorge. I'm going to pop a little spoon of that on. So this is the wet element of the dish that will hold it all together. Gorgeous. Fabulous. Eating and drinking. So there's our delicious blah. Simply done. Going to pop it on a plate, and quickly then we're going to talk about, so if we finish those other two, because as we said, we promised Dermot a feast, and we're going to follow with that. We're going to make sure that he gets a delicious feast from us. So there's one part. Another, I'm going to quickly, shall we go rugged and rustic?
Yes.
So we've just removed a layer of preparation, which means we've minimized the labor intensity of the soup. So this is actually quite great, isn't it? So make your decisions. Yeah, is that good? Can you taste the ham hock?
Absolutely.
I love it. Fantastic. So we've minimized the step, which means we've optimized our menu even further, that speed of service. So we're going to pop this in. Gorgeous. How lovely. Going to pop some of that ham hock on top. And what else I'm going to do? So we're going to do a quick side salad. We probably don't have time. We have 2 minutes. We'll talk about our side salad. So it's based on carrots. So I'm just going to sprinkle some of that on top. We'll take pictures and we'll pop them up after. So sprinkle this on top. But I also have some carrot top pesto. So literally I have some Parmesan. You can use whatever hard cheese you like. I have some Parmesan. I have the carrot tops. Would you grab them behind you there, Sarah? So the carrot tops are those young leaves at the top of the carrot. And so I picked those off, mixed it with some basil, and I'm literally just popping it onto the top of my soup. It's another layer of flavor. It's a great use of that. And what I want to do is I want to serve my ham hock and pea soup with my ham hock and egg blah, accompanied with a delicious simple carrot salad. The carrots, Sarah, what's one thing we did here?
So we washed our carrots
Really well.
prepping it really well, and then just grated them with the skin on.
Yes. unapologetically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you're keeping in all of that flavor that's in the skin. So much of the nutrition is in the skin as well. You know, it's like
That's
we
it.
just throw into the bin.
And if you know your carrot producer, what a wonderful way to fully respect his hard work or her hard work, whoever they are. So from there, then we've got our carrot salad. I'm going to mix some of that carrot pesto. So the tiny bit of basil in there as well. I'm going to mix that around. I have some extra seeds here as well. So seeds went into my pesto rather than nuts, because sometimes some kitchens don't like nuts in their kitchen because we're crazy enough. So there we have our carrot and seed salad, maximized on every element. We have our spring onion crumbs. So if I do a little side gorge,
So exciting.
and if you give me some of that crumb on top, so our spring onion crumb, our egg ham hock blah, our carrot pesto salad with spring onion crumb, and then a little bowl of soup.
A little bowl of soup on the side.
I think we're great.
Yeah, but it's so it's such a nice little, you know, like circular dish. You know, it's everything is kind of connected and is going to work well together because they all come from each other. You know, which is really nice.
Congratulations, that was absolutely terrific. This is Sarah's first time to brace the camera, and I can't say how happy I am to have you as my right hand woman. I've thoroughly enjoyed this whole experience and being able to uncover and discover what's vital for us to optimize your time with clever menu design. Chef Network, Ballymaloe Foods, we can't thank you enough. We've loved it. Yeah. So I wonder, do we have any questions?
Guys, thank you so much. That was really, really wonderful and really informative. There's a couple of questions in here, all right. The first one, how important is it for people to know the kitchen culture before they accept any job offer?
I might answer this one because it's actually a huge reason why I took the job in Cava. You know, I'm privileged enough to decide that chefing is my career and it's what I want to do. Which is not the case for everyone I know, but I'm lucky in that way. And when I decided I wanted to be a chef, I also decided that I wouldn't work somewhere that wasn't a positive working environment, you know, because it doesn't matter that, you know, it shouldn't be this idea that kitchens and hospitality are sort of like, you know, that's just the way it is and it's a different industry and whatever. We should be treated with the same respect as any other industry, you know, because it is a career and that's how we're going to fix our shortage, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also stepping out of yourself. So if you go to a kitchen or you're looking at a kitchen, it's finding out who works there. It's finding out or who may have worked there. It's trying to get inside information as well, isn't it? So it's asking those questions. What is it like to work there? Are there growth? Can I grow within it? You know, what level of respect is shown or what level of training is given? And you'll get to understand quickly what kind of environment it is. But I also think asking those questions in the interview process would be really helpful. So looking at the Chef Network Workplace Charter, looking at the titles there and creating a question around it. So posing the question, I think, has a real place in this conversation.
Exactly. And like seeing how it feels in a trial as well, you know, you can tell so much in a day. And like we should be asking ourselves those questions going in for jobs, you know, we shouldn't be waiting for someone else to decide that for us, you know.
I love that. Put the shoe on your own foot.
Brilliant, thank you. Another question here, which you've probably kind of half addressed. Can you suggest ways in which staff can influence the introduction of new cultural practices with management?
Oh, what a great question. What a great question. This actual webinar is going to be saved and up for review, as in you can watch it over and over again. I think to send this link is a start and hope that they may actually look at something like this. I think also there's great bravery, because that's such a tough one. Sitting down in the company of people can be quite challenging. So if you have an open relationship with management or the boss, I would suggest sitting down with them and asking them a few questions and telling them what it is you'd love to achieve within your position. That's such a great question.
Or you could even like look, you know, you could just casually pretend that you'd never heard of the Kitchen Workplace Charter before this.
Oh, I love this.
Go and say, oh, I was just at this or watched this online talk about optimizing time with clever menu design, and they brought up the Workplace Charter, and I think it's a fantastic thing, and maybe we could do that.
I
and
love
kind
that.
of suggest it in a less like
Yes.
sit downy way, kind of keep a casual way, and then see how that works, And if it doesn't, then don't be afraid to go.
Yes.
It's not taken on board.
There's a brilliant initiative. It's completely separate to this, but you've just triggered something. So it's the 50 Shades Greener and Raquel Noboa, brilliant initiative for hospitalities, cafes and restaurants. But what they do is they inspire a green manager. And that's exactly it. That's what you need. You need a representative to operate and action it. And so it's the accountability piece. It's nearly putting yourself in a position to say, I would love, with your agreements and doing exactly what you said, after you've invited the charter into the kitchen, afterwards you say, I would love with your agreements if I could maybe try and work with this in the environment with your full say and support. And I think that's a wonderful way to get it started. Yeah, it's quite a powerful thing.
And taking the initiative too,
Yeah, I love it, Sarah. Yeah, great advice.
Brilliant, thank you so much. Another question here, what other star ingredients would you suggest as basics, which would be versatile for use across recipes?
Yeah, brilliant. The first one is the spud, no doubt about it. The spud and the onion are two of the basics. So the spud, that multifunctional use where the skins can become tips. Yeah.
Or like any vegetable skin really can become a crisp, and you can, depending on how you take the skin off. We do this sometimes in Cava where we use, take the skins off beetroot or anything, carrots even, or parsnips, and dehydrate them and season them, and they're so delicious. And then we use that for, plating and making a dish like visually more interesting. And it's like, I think you kind of, any ingredient can be a star ingredient really. You just have to think about, what am I throwing away out of this, and then start using that.
Yeah, how can I bring it back in? And another thing, even with those skins tossed in, well, it depends, slow oven roast or deep fry, not so much, but the dehydrator, if you don't have one, at least there's other options that you can utilize. And then it's tossing in seasoned flour spices afterwards, isn't it? And then having sauces. So it's a snack. It can be a snack as well as an accompaniment, as well as a garnish, as well as a powder. Terrific use of all vegetables. There's lovely, the onion skins can become an onion salt. So you can flavor your salt. So if you create the powder, you can put it into your salt, and then you can have different flavored salts as well. Yeah, terrific.
Great, thanks a million. That's all the questions we have for now, unless anybody else wants to pop any questions into the questions box. We'll just give a couple of seconds.
If not, we'll have a delicious lunch.
Snack.
Occupy yourselves.
Like how feasible is it, when you're implementing these kind of changes into your menu in an established restaurant where, you're sort of used to doing it a certain way and it's just the way we do it or whatever. Like how do you even begin? Yeah.
It's the full inclusion. If people feel isolated, they will either curl up and run away, or they'll go on the attack. So it's the full inclusion piece. If you can incorporate every team member at every stage, so even the thought stage, as in, I've just had a mad idea, I'm thinking, what do you think? So if you can get that full inclusion and grow with the team, they will move with you. But if you come in all guns a-blazing, you're in a state of panic then, and usually people will bite back, and change will take so much longer. So it's that value piece. I value you and your opinion, and I want you to come with me on this, and I want to go with you on this. So it's that your opinion matters, and so does mine. That respect, It's a great question.
Great. Well, look, thanks, guys, to both Tracie and Sarah for a super session, which I hope everyone found useful. I think there were a wealth of really good ideas and takeaways that will be valuable to our attendees today. So really well done on that. As you mentioned, Tracie, the session has been recorded and will be available on the Chef Network website in the coming days. So you'll be able to view it again there. You're all registered to join part 2 of the series on the 14th of June at 11 AM. So we look forward to seeing you all then. For now, it's just to say thanks so much from all at Ballymaloe Foods and Chef Network for joining us, and hope you have a great day. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sarah.
No worries. Thank you.